Does Disney have its next CEO? According to a piece from CNBC, they just might. Let's talk about Dana Walden here on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and I am here with a man with a very impressive background. Culture, can you tell us about what's going on in the world of Disney right now?
Oh, it's wild. There's all kinds of unrest that was just resolved in this beautiful proxy fight that Disney won.
That's right. They definitely won with only 30% of shares saying that they would like Nelson Peltz on that board. Some outlets are reporting that Lagomasino beat him 2-1, which is a very interesting way of counting that, as if it's a traditional election. Of course, more on that in other videos on That Park Place. Of course, the main issue facing the Walt Disney Company right now, and perhaps the reason that Peltz got so many votes, again, 30% of voting shares, not counting those that were thrown out because of Disney's new voting rules, said that succession might be the problem here. So let's talk about succession at the Walt Disney Company. First of all, according to most reports, it's internal candidates that they are testing right now. As I understand it, there are 3 that are not so hot, and 1 that maybe deserves the position. Let's go ranking from bottom to top. Culture, who do you think is the bottom of this list?
Probably resting near the bottom would be Josh D'Amaro. I would think that the fellow over there at ESPN is probably not going to be in great shape for this gig either.
I would agree with that. Josh D'Amaro, of course, being the head of
Oh,
parks and resorts for the entire company, and Jimmy Pitaro
okay.
just doing a CNBC interview all about ESPN. I would say he didn't evoke that presence that Bob Iger does when he is holding a shareholders meeting or an interview where he is in some ways in command of what is going on there. Communication, of course, being Bob Iger's strongest suit, stronger than I would say his business management skills. In fact, he's very good at communication. That leaves 2 people there, of course. One of them being Alan Bergman, who is in charge of the entertainment division. Co-in charge of the entertainment division, and Dana Walden, who is co-in charge of the entertainment division as well. Culture, I would ask you who you think the next CEO is going to be, but instead I'm going to defer to someone who is not currently on the panel. Let's see what Alex Sherman from CNBC thinks about that.
Ooh.
How Dana Walden could defy critics and become Disney's first female CEO. This published April 1st, 2024. No comment on the date there. Dana Walden is in the running to be Bob Iger's successor as Disney CEO, according to people familiar with the matter. If she is chosen, Walden would be the first female CEO of Disney in its 100-year history. She's proven herself as a TV executive, but some former Disney executives question whether her resume is suitable for the top job. More than 20 colleagues and friends spoke with CNBC about her strengths, faults, and perceived likelihood she could take over for Iger. This is a big deal right here because there are some people in this article that some would theorize that they would never contribute to an article about Dana Walden unless Dana Walden gave her permission for this article to be made. And there's a little bit of weight there that I'll let you discern for yourself what that might mean. But here we go. Back to the olden days of 1994. In 1994, a captain of the media and entertainment industry saw something in Dana Walden that made him think she was capable of a bigger role. 30 years later, that may happen again. Is 1994 really 30 years ago? Imagine that. That first time, the executive was Peter Chernin, the president of 20th Century Fox Filmed Entertainment, and later president and chief operating officer of Rupert Murdoch's News Corp. Chernin plucked Walden from Fox's corporate communications division and gave her a job in TV. In 2024, the executive is Bob Iger, Disney CEO, and the position he's considering Walden for is that of his successor, according to people familiar with the process. The appointment would make Walden the first female CEO of the Walt Disney Company in its 100-year history. Okay, let's stop right here for just a moment. Culture, I'm going to throw this to you because I need your opinion on this rather than my opinion on this.
Okay.
Who is going to choose the next successor to Bob Iger?
Well, yeah, I think the obvious answer would be Bob Iger. But there's another person in the room that might want to have some thoughts on it. Who did they just bring in, Jonas?
James P. Gorman from
So
Morgan Stanley.
yeah, so I think he's probably gonna be the weightiest voice in the room outside of Iger's.
I think you're probably correct because everyone else that is on that succession committee has been on the succession committee already for a year. The same succession committee that got Bob Iger his, I want to say, it's either his 8th or 9th contract renewal over at the Walt Disney Company, depending on how you count him exiting and then coming back
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So he is staying until at least 2026, and then he has a consulting contract that goes to. I want to say 2030, maybe 2031.
Yeah, I think it might be beyond 2030, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
Surprise me.
it wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay, Walden is the co-chair of Disney Entertainment and is competing internally with Disney Experiences chairman Josh D'Amaro, ESPN chairman Jimmy Pitaro, and Alan Bergman, who is entertainment co-chair with Walden. Alan Bergman used to be the chair of entertainment, and now he is the co-chair of entertainment. And people familiar with the matter who asked not to be named talked about that. Also, a statement from Chairman Mark Parker to Institutional Shareholder Services indicated that it was internal candidates, and these are the most obvious internal candidates. They did say and external. That might include Tom Staggs. That might include Kevin Mayer. Those would be the most obvious choices in this case. Tom Staggs has had zero press. Go ahead, Culture.
Do you know who they definitely aren't considering?
Jay Rasulo.
Yes.
I gotta say, Jay Rasulo did a fantastic job in those Restoring Magic videos that he recorded.
Yes.
I wonder if those are still available anywhere other than those who reacted to them on, say, the WDW Pro channel or Valiant Renegade or on that Park Place online.
Yeah.
So other than that, that leaves Kevin Mayer, who actually is popping out with a little press every now and then to say that maybe he, with his amazing jawline, might be a good idea for the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. So Iger plans to name a successor and then stick around at Disney to teach that person the job before departing at the end of 2026. CNBC reported in September he's fighting to maintain control of Disney's future against a threat from Trian partners Nelson Peltz. Obviously, that threat is a little less urgent than it was a few days ago. Although Peltz has indicated if the stock price doesn't continue to go up, I think he'll still be back again next year. So the last time that Bob Iger left the company, did he have this kind of mentor relationship with anybody? Culture?
No.
Can you describe the process for Bob Iger,
Yeah.
for Bob Chapek's ascension, and how Bob Iger chose to mentor him?
Well, I mean, he basically wanted the normal process is you interview with each of the board members over the course of a year, and then you hopefully achieve a unanimous vote that puts you in charge of the company. And tell me if I'm wrong there, but I think I'm right. This last time around, because of the urgency with which Iger needed to depart, he basically said, "This is the guy." Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think that you're completely correct. It's supposed to be a year-long interview process.
Yeah.
And there have been many indications that they did a COO CFO swap at the company in the past to try to prepare people for being the the CEO of the company. That didn't work well for them. And so I think that Bob Iger, instead of naming his successor and then sticking around, he instead became executive chairman and decided to stick around, acting as though he would still be the CEO, because the executive chairman and the board are supposed to be the bosses of the CEO. But that really was, I don't think that was delineated well for Bob Chapek, and I don't think Bob Iger understood how that was going to go. I think that's fair to say.
Sure. Yeah. He moved into a position without any difference. Basically, Bob Iger was de facto CEO, even up until the point that he actually sort of kind of left. But he didn't vacate his office for the 11 months that I would say that Chapek actually had a shot at running the company.
That's that's very true. It's a funny thing to me to think about him being called back when maybe he never left the company. Here we go. Several executives at Disney privately told CNBC they believe Walden, 59, is the favorite to land the top job, though they have no inside knowledge of the process, and their proximity to Walden may skew their perception. So that's the big journalistic outlet expression for take this with a grain of salt, folks. Rumors and speculation. Her relationship with Iger, she lives just blocks from his house in Brentwood. We'll talk about that a little bit. Her track record of success as a TV executive, her trust among the Disney board members, and the symbolism about what it would mean to have a female executive all work in her favor. She's the single best talent exec to come out of TV in the last 20 years, Chernin said in an interview. She would be an outstanding CEO, Roth said. Absolutely outstanding. Walden declined to comment for the story. More than 20 colleagues and friends spoke to CNBC about her strengths, faults, and the perceived likelihood that she will take over for Iger. Before we comment more on Walden, let's comment on Bob Iger. We don't talk about him very much on this channel, of course, but there's something interesting here. Bob Iger last time did not name Dana Walden as his successor because even though she would be incoming, she was a Fox executive. I think Peter Rice would have been the more obvious person in line there because he was higher up in the line, but instead named Bob Chapek. This time around, I think that some of the things that Bob Iger said on the earnings call and on the shareholders meeting and the interview that he did with David Faber after the fact indicated that he says that they're not going to be doing any messaging, but also kind of they are going to be doing messaging. It was a very mixed and muddled answer that did not indicate that they were going to be getting away from, say, social justice issues. So that might be one reason that they're going with Dana Walden. What would be the accolade that Bob Iger would get to take credit for if Dana Walden was named his successor?
Well, aside from being the first female CEO of the company?
Yes, Dana Walden would get to be the first female CEO of the company, and Bob Iger would get to take credit for helping a woman to break the glass ceiling at the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah,
that's a fascinating little bit of patriarchy right there, if I'm using the term correctly.
Well, I think you are, but it's also would be incredibly insulting because then you're basically saying the only reason she got this job is not because she was best for the job, but because she'd be the first female CEO of the company, and I made that happen.
Right, and I'm not saying that is I'm not familiar enough with her work yet, but we're working on that here. At that Park Place.
But we are.
Well, maybe I'm being a little bit humble here. Let's talk about this article from 2021. Dana Walden says ABC passed on pilots for not being inclusive enough during a panel that included Amazon Studios chief Jennifer Salke. What is Jennifer Salke, who is a close collaborator of Dana Walden? They're good friends. What is she responsible for? Culture?
She's responsible for the Rings of Power.
The Rings of Power, which of course has Galadriel turned from the most amazing female character in the Lord of the Rings into a soldier.
And just the most insufferable person possible. So,
yeah.
I mean, add to that of course Amazon Studio Chiefs Jennifer Salke is basically responsible for the inclusive entertainment efforts there at Amazon. That's basically all her focus is as well.
Yeah, I would say the $1 billion that they spent on that one season of Rings of Power, which is soon to be $500 million per season. If they do another one, maybe they can defray those costs a little bit more.
They have to.
I mean, otherwise that is very clearly the most expensive and one of the worst.
5.
Yeah, you took one of the best film trilogy ever made, and could not parlay that into something that everyone wanted to watch. But there's a lot of that going around in modern day.
Jonas,
let's get to
just for I know you want to get to this, but just for dollars and cents, what that means is because they're contractually responsible for delivering 5 seasons, they're
yes.
obligated to do so.
Yeah, so they can get that down to 200 million per season, but that would not include the production costs of actually producing
Right.
those
So
other 4 seasons.
I think I would suggest that it's going to be $3 billion of wasted money by the
Oh
time they're
my.
done with that.
Oh my. Okay, well, anyway, she has the she was on a panel with that person who also endorses Dana Walden, so that's one indication of track record here. Walden revealed that for the first time, the network received some incredibly well-written scripts that did not satisfy our standards in terms of inclusion. I don't even need to read the rest of the article, in my opinion, at this point. That is mind-boggling to me that you would say these are great. We are not going to do them for race reasons or gender reasons or for whatever chosen inclusivity reasons. Right now, Disney Plus, which is Disney's premier streaming service, and I say premier with a grain of salt. Disney would describe it as their premier streaming service. Which one is actually profitable? Hulu. Disney is struggling so much right now with TV content. They don't have TV content that people are watching on the level that is commensurate with the amount of money that they have been spending on it. I don't want to say that Dana Walden is in charge of all of that, but she is head of television for the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah, and television just hasn't been delivering what it should be, even though TV linear broadcast is, on the way out according to people. She's just not bringing the numbers she should be, even with a slowly dying, entity such as linear television. But yeah, boy, oof, we've got a story later. I can't wait to go.
Well, in this case, I think that what we're pointing at is that this is in line with Bob Iger's worldview about what needs to be done at the Walt Disney Company. You pass on what is recognized as good content, incredibly well-written scripts. I'm going to read that as good content.
Yeah.
In order to go ahead and say that we need something that satisfies their standards in terms of inclusion. And that if I was a shareholder, I would really have a lot of questions as to whether or not that is the right call for the company. I think the environment in April of 2021 was much more welcoming, or say much more hostile here, if you want to put it, much more welcoming to people who would favor inclusion over profits, to now where Disney is kind of struggling to, I don't want to say they're struggling to keep the lights on, but they're headed in the wrong direction financially. That is not something that Disney can disagree with. They are headed in the wrong direction financially. They say they've made changes, but they are headed in the wrong direction financially. And that's what the changes are about. Okay. So what I want to go back to here is this little all shucks statement right here. Allies, Walden told CNBC she won't even discuss succession with them, though many said they tease her about it, choosing to focus on the job of running Disney Entertainment with Bergman that she's tasked with today. She faces stiff competition in the other Disney division heads. Walden has spent the last 3 decades focused on producing TV hits. She hasn't had the same range of responsibilities as Pitaro, who has run the company's sports media empire since 2018, and she has no experience running parks and resorts, which Iger and the board may decide is more essential to Disney's future than a TV business with hazy financial prospects in the streaming era. That's a great way to end that sentence, by the way. 6 former colleagues, all of whom work closely with Walden, privately questioned her business acumen in interviews with CNBC. I would say that there's a lot of interesting statements about Dana Walden, and I would say she would probably be considered an Iger loyalist right now. Would you say that, Culture?
Indeed. Although I don't think Iger's the person that put her in the position she's in.
That's a very good point. Let's go over here to another article by Alex Sherman. This is Disney's Wildest Ride: Iger, Chapek, and the Making of a Succession Mess. I recommend that anyone who is following the shareholder issues at the Walt Disney Company, you need to go read this 12,000 word article. I sometimes savor every word of this excellent piece from Alex Sherman. Going back to Chapek, when he was at the company, Chapek was also starting to gain traction with Hollywood, with the Hollywood community. He'd broker peace with Johansson, with Lord, and repaired that relationship. This is, of course, referring to the Scarlett Johansson contract negotiation situation, which, by the way, Bob Iger and Bob Chapek worked together on that response to Scarlett Johansson. Dana Walden, who replaced Rice, that was Peter Rice, who was fired because he was, I think, gunning for Chapek's job to lead Disney's TV division, invited Chapek to her house to meet A-list showrunners and directors. A majority decided Chapek deserved more time to implement his own vision, and he received a relatively short contract extension. This right here is talking about the board. But I would say that Dana Walden was a supporter of Bob Chapek when Bob Chapek was in power. Is that a fair assessment there?
Yes, I would say that she owes her current position to him, and
yes,
and
absolutely. Since he definitely put her in that position.
and I feel like it's telling in a lot of ways that she will shift with the wind like a flag. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how loyal somebody like that is.
Yes, that's a very good point there. So let's go back to another section of that same article again. Walden and Bergman both live near Iger. On November 12th, each took a walk with him in the neighborhood and told him that they'd voice their concerns to Arnold. That would be Susan Arnold, then head of the Walt Disney Company board, according to people familiar with the matter. Walden asked Iger if he'd be open to returning. By this time, several other past and present Disney executives had also urged Iger to come back. Iger told Walden he'd consider it, although he didn't tell his wife, according to a person familiar with the matter. I don't know. I personally am uncomfortable with a married man making a promise to consider anything with a woman he's not married to and not telling his wife. But Hollywood works differently than Jonas Campbell. Early the next week, according to people familiar with the matter, Walden planned another walk with Iger for 3 p.m. on November 19th, shortly before their scheduled stroll. Walden called to tell Iger she'd never had any intention of taking that walk. She had made the appointment to ensure he'd be available for a call from Arnold, who formally asked him to return. Walden declined to comment. This is fascinating to me. I'm not going to say she's duplicitous, but there could be a pattern of maybe opportunistic behavior here, saying that no, I'm on your side. I'm the person that yes, you, Bob, yes, and you could just take that statement for either CEO and say, Bob, I am loyal to Bob. And let's continue here. Culture. This is already a pretty long video here. Do you think that Dana Walden is probably the most likely person to get the CEO job now that Nelson Peltz is out of the way, and they're probably going to go with an easy pick for succession?
I think that she is navigating a press campaign very well and getting well out in front of somebody even, like Tom Staggs or Kevin Mayer, and certainly out in front of the person that she co-runs entertainment with, Mr. Bergman. I think Bergman has his work cut out for him if he wants to, compete. So yes, I think that they're going to try to lean into this. I just don't know how many people will be super enthusiastic about it outside of those that are driving this for political reasons.
I think you're correct. I don't think Jimmy Pitaro is going to get it. I think that Josh D'Amaro is a smiley guy with too much blue sky behind him. Yes. I think I prefer the Sesame Street Guy Smiley as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Too bad that's owned by Warner Brothers. Bergman has got to get out there and have a hit, but I think that Bob Iger is probably swaying that division more than he should at the moment. Sean Bailey, who was the best chance for the Walt Disney Company to release a live action film outside of their currently damaged brands, outside of the peculiar ideology that seems to be cursing the company. I think Sean Bailey had the best chance of pivoting because Marvel does not appear to be pivoting. Star Wars has stuff left in the chute and is not going to release a movie until 2026. Disney Animation has larger problems to deal with, Jennifer Lee, and and Pixar, heaven help them, there's too much messaging in those films. So the live action was the only division that had hope to change, and now they've essentially put all of that under a Fox executive. I think because he got a bunch of awards, which the last time I checked, awards don't add to the box office totals.
No, they'll bury your desk in awards, but they don't necessarily think, the best of you. Most people don't realize that's how business works. You'll have tons of awards,
right? Which is not to mention the fake awards that the ESPN
the Emmys
organization just had to return.
Oh, the Emmys.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Is there anything else we're missing here before we close up this conversation about Dana Walden?
No, other than, the fact that, Iger came out and specifically said that we don't understand what some of the politics are that he's actually engaging in. People don't understand the meaning of words. And this lady is the personification of delivery of those words, based on the article from 2021 that we reviewed briefly. I will tell you that I'm worried for Disney's future. And I think that a year from now, we're going to be in the same position we are now, only with somebody else maybe getting the head nod to be the next CEO at a time when the board may likely shift in an entirely other direction.
That's a very good point. And maybe we'll all luck out and they'll delay so much on this succession process that Nelson Peltz might be on the board next time, or maybe some other investor will come in and say, no, I want to be on that board in order to choose the next successor of the Walt Disney Company. But of course, thank you so much to everyone who has watched to the end of this very long discussion of Dana Walden and her prospects as the possible next CEO of the Walt Disney Company. What are your thoughts on whether or not this is actually going to happen, whether or not this is just a fluff piece out there that's not going to move much? We want to know your thoughts. Of course, like this video. If you like this video, go over to the Culture Casino channel to get great analysis of the entertainment business and in business in general. The guy it's fantastic. He has the 6-Minute Daily every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.